After a full 5 years, I was finally heading back to the village. During these 5 years, neither we nor my uncle back home had any real stability. Now that everything had settled into a comfortable rhythm, we decided it was time to visit. My uncle had moved out of his old house and settled elsewhere. He had built a beautiful bungalow. He never explained why he left the old house. Even when asked whether he had sold it, there was no clear answer, and after that, he carefully avoided the topic altogether. We stopped the car at the address he had given us. Truly, it was a lovely bungalow. But it was quite far from our old neighborhood. Meeting the village folks after so many years felt wonderful. When we arrived, Uncle James and Uncle Norman were already sitting and chatting. Seeing them made me happy too. After washing up, I joined their conversation. They asked about health, work, and life in general. While talking, they casually mentioned that they too had moved into this same neighborhood. That, however, surprised me. Uncle James and Uncle Norman had been our neighbors for generations. Their houses were older, solidly built, and their nature was such that they would never abandon their ancestral place. So what had happened? The moment I voiced this thought, their faces fell and silence spread through the room. Some time passed like that. Unable to bear the quiet, I finally asked, "What exactly happened, Uncle? You've always avoided this topic. No one forced you to sell the land, did they?" "No, son, nothing like that," they said, shaking their heads. "What can we say, boy? Ever since that fair took place, that area has been going downhill," Uncle Norman began. "Indeed," Uncle James added, his face darkening as if recalling a tragic day. "It was as if God's wrath fell upon it." "What exactly happened?" My curiosity had piqued. "Do you remember that fire?" one of them asked while cracking a betel nut. "The one that broke out 5 years ago, the night before the fair." "Yes, of course I remember. It was terrifying. The peepal tree in the middle was burned in it, wasn't it?" 5 years ago, we had come to the village for a vacation, and at the same time a big annual fair was being held. The fair takes place in an open ground a little ahead of our houses. Food stalls, toy sellers, clothes shops, huge swings, and a lively play a night. It was always a delight. 2 days before the fair, the ground is cleaned. Dry leaves and junks are gathered and burned. That year, too, the cleaning was done, but something else, something that should never have been, was cleaned away, as well. At the center of the ground stood a very old peepal tree. Someone had burned the pile of leaves right at its roots. Burning it was bad enough, but before leaving that night, they forgot to douse it with water. A tiny spark hidden in the junk grew into flames with the help of the wind. The entire village slept wrapped in blankets, unaware, while the tree was being wrapped in fire. Before it ever saw the sunrise, half of its being had turned to charcoal. The next day, the whole village mourned. There were discussions, curses at carelessness, but it was all temporary. Soon enough, preparations for the fair resumed, and everyone returned to their daily routines. "Yes, it was after that fire that the place began to lose its life," Uncle said, pulling me back to the present. "The beautiful trees in our courtyard started drying up. We couldn't understand why. Trees across the entire neighborhood began dying. Even after heavy rains, the wells wouldn't fill. Everyone prayed, but nothing changed. Finally, we all decided to leave the area. Earthquakes never happen in our village, yet cracks began appearing in the houses. We left while there was still time." "What are you saying? Cracks in the houses?" "We were always repairing them." "That's exactly it. It was as if a dark shadow had spread over the neighborhood. You were already facing difficulties in the city. We didn't want to burden you further by telling you all this." For a few moments, my mind went numb. I wanted to see our old house. "All right. Rest now. We'll go tomorrow morning." The next morning, we set out in the car. The moment we crossed into the old neighborhood, the sight before me left me stunned. What was once lush and green had turned into something like a desert. Houses that had once stood strong now looked as if a powerful earthquake had passed through them. Amid all this, the peepal tree in the open ground still stood firm. Half a trunk, roots twisted and exposed above the ground, and fresh shoots sprouting from the middle, the only living thing in a dead landscape. I kept staring at it. I don't know how long I stood there. It wasn't speaking, yet I could hear words. What wrong did I ever do to you? I gave you shade. I gave you memories. You played beneath my shadow, shared joy and sorrow. The words stopped. Something seemed to shift beneath the ground. And what did you give me in return? Carelessness and cold emotions. My breathing grew heavy. My gaze dropped. The roots, were they moving, ever so slightly? As far as my roots spread, nothing will remain. When Uncle placed his hand on my shoulder, I flinched back to my senses. As we drove away, I saw the tree in the car's rearview mirror. The new shoots swayed with the wind, dancing, laughing.